Welcome back to more Auction Not Included for our Beginner's Guide. So last episode, we kind of went over uh, kind of the basics of getting petroleum set up, how to make a little processing room, kind of the keep it simple, stupid philosophy of why for a lot of things you can just use an oil refiner. You don't need to go to a petrol boiler and stuff. And you can see we've been running fine without issues. It's been a bit, little bit, couple cycles. I got a little stuck in the weeds with this giant ranch project. So we do have all of our Sweetles up to population. We're in the process of filling up our grubs. We are leaving these blank later for this pip ranch. You can see we did make some natural tiles. We'll go into a little bit about pips and pip planting. It will probably be the next episode. It's kind of the sub-goal to this episode. We have our hatches down here, and we have this all nice and climate controlled to 25 degrees. And that's just because bristle blossom, grubs, or grub fruit, grubs, sweetles, hatches, pips, arbor trees, all that loves being around 25 degrees. Then we did the full array over here, so we just have Sweetles, we have 2 for grubs, 2 for hatches, these 2 will be pips for later. We have our little drowning room here. Sends back to our base. Then this area below, we have going to -6 to do some sleet wheat. Like I said, this is a little bit of pre-planning for kind of an end goal project of everyone has worked so hard, they're going to get to live off some nice mixed berry pie once we get through some projects. But for now, we're just stockpiling the grub fruit, mostly turning it into grub fruit preserves, because it's a little nicer than mealwood for our space program. Then we are making some berry sludge. Just because long term I can't run due to how I design this, I can't have a musher and the stuff to make some berry pies. So we're gonna make some sludge now, so we have it. Besides that, there we have recruited 2 new dupes. Both these to be farmers because we have a lot more farming stuff. So we got Quinn and Otto. Our hatches have mostly moved over. We did have to throw in a bit of temp thimble reed production because we were getting low. I think I'm also keeping an eye over on Grisona. And besides that, we built a couple rockets. And we have cleared all of this area out. So I think I was saying he kind of started hitting our hatches, but our motivation for kind of the Sweetle plan was our rock is getting kind of low. Between clearing this out and moving over what I dug out on Grisona, we have 1,000 tons. Igneous rock is very much a non-issue for now. Same with our metal was getting kind of low. We dug this out. We have 190 tons of copper again. So our metal's a lot more stable. Besides that there, I did put a sweep dispenser here just to sweep up all this liquefiable stuff just so we can contain it. And just so everyone has stuff to do. But I didn't want them to... Okay, I don't have the filter designated. So, like I said, our research is a lot further than where it would be to start this. So our big goal right now is we want to actually land some dupes over on Toxona. Just get our CO2 going again. So the lowest tech way to do it is going to be using 2 different solo spacefarers on carbon dioxide rockets. Because they have a travel range of 6, so they can travel to Toxona and back. But we don't have a lot of room, so we pretty much only put trailblazers on them. We can put trailblazers, and then it's like we could have put battery and some other stuff, but not much. So if you were doing the absolute lowest tech way, which is generally, leave this up now, you'd be doing it because you're on a planet that doesn't have access to reed fiber. So let's say you don't have a Princeceptor there. I don't think it's until cycle like 200 at least, maybe 500, where if you've never seen one, the printing pod is not going to give you a Dreco. That means you can't make Atmos suits. You have no way to make Atmos suits. And Atmos suits are pretty great, as we've learned. But you do have oxygen mass. So you could get some oxygen mass, set them up, build two of these Trailblazer rockets. They're not going to be the nicest thing for our dupes. This is very much a solo setup, but we're going to be running more than one dupe in there. And what we've done is I wanted to make sure it was our builders. We're going to have Meep go in Smash, and then we're going to have Devin and Nicola going in Grab. And this is just to potentially avoid some weirdness of trying to control rockets with nobody in them. And the reason we're using 2 rockets, because what we're going to do is we're going to send them over. We're going to use these Trailblazer modules to land on the planet, deconstruct them, and that will give us enough metal to make a rocket platform. What we could do after, if we didn't have a bigger rocket, we can have this 3rd rocket, which is not going to be set up real great. But with this 3rd rocket, we could equip a gas cargo canister, build a actual base, so that maybe one dupe could land and work on the planet for a while and come back. Because we could set up a Atmos using our thing here. We set up Atmos suit here. Have to adjust a couple things. We're a little further advanced than that. So what I generally what I do on my own before space, just to make my life a bit easier, I usually wait until I have a steam rocket to do a lot of colonizing stuff. And that's just because I can put 2 Trailblazers on it. I can put a large gas tank on it. So with 2 Trailblazers, we could just send this ship over and land and get going. Making her power might be a bit weird. Still waiting to get some power made. Move that a bit lower. So we could just put the Trailblazers on this one instead. We drop the 2 Trailblazers. We can land. We mostly work. We'll probably just have to also hook up a wheel to our battery module. Solar panels are nice. It's not going to make a lot. The steam engine will make a fair amount of power while it's flying. But once it landed, we're mostly on solar panel, and it's not great. So we're just going to get the Trailblazers out of here. This is going to be built for more of a long-term rocket. So the thing to keep in mind with colonizing rockets, especially if you're using a Spacefarer module, you generally want your Spacefarer module as close to your engine as possible. It just makes it easier for routing a lot of your piping, getting your ladders, getting your dupes back into the rocket. Similar reason, you also want your battery low, because if you do need to kind of plug into this as a power source, it saves you from having to build a lot of extra stuff. For the solar panel modules, doesn't really matter. They will generate power just in just being connected. But we can get a couple more in there now that we... The thing with rocket modules, they don't like you just deconstructing them multiple at a time. Take a free booster. So, well, Bill's a lot for power later. So in with our colonization rocket, we do have most of this built now. We're waiting to just get a little bit of heat in here. We did have some pipes flashing due to cold material. Fine, we'll just get this here. We get our bed. It'll take a while for this all to fill. So where we are using a gas canister, we need to include a gas output fitting. That way we can access the gas in our tank. Then we just have that kind of split between our suits and this vent. I do want to add one piece of automation, which I will put right here. Do not want these built out of steel. And this is more just a quality of life thing I like to do. I think you can do it with star map location sensor as well. I just like using switches for projects like these. Is just so people aren't constantly taking their suits on and off while they were building this and loading it, I disabled the Atmo suit checkpoint. We're just going to put it on a toggle so that whenever they're on the home base and I'm like, hey, run stuff around, load up our material and do all that, it's a little easier. I'm going to tell them to enable this building again. Right now I don't have these set to leave empty, so they're just going to come in and set that, and then we'll just turn it off. Get our last bed made. There we go. And it's disabled. Make sure it is set to vacancy only, otherwise you will get a bunch of suits trapped in here. But where this is more of a long-term rocket, I did care more about our morale. So, kind of hybrid of my design, some cues from the optimized rocket interior guide on Steam, and a lot of different advice I got from the Chaos Crew play along in Echo Ridge's Discord, various designs. So with this one here, we have our gas output, which can go to our Atmo suits, supply our rocket. We have 2 ladder beds here, so we can get up. Also, 2 dupes can sleep here. We have the other bed here, so we can send 3 dupes to colonize. I like a 3-person team. Usually get you a good mix of dupes that can work, your researcher, everything you kind of need. We're kind of dealing with pipes flashing a bit because they used a lot of really cold igneous rock to build all this. But that's fine. I do need to add... Knew I forgot something. Just so that pump doesn't run all the time. But we do have a bedroom, we have a washroom. The rocket control station does not count as it's mostly industrial buildings are what's going to cause the problems, depending on the method you use for your ship, on how many dupes you can fit in easily. And then we do have a great hall. So you're getting into a lot of stuff with the rockets, so these weird, like, disjointed floors and stuff. Because the main issue of trying to get up to a great hall is getting to 32 tiles. So... sweep down here. We'll wait a while before we build this, and then we want this looking for carbon dioxide. We do have our great hall for a +4, a washroom, the wall toilet. The hand sanitizer does count as a plumbed wash station for +2, and then this would be a barracks for another +1. They should be also getting a good amount of morale off the party line phone. And I just put 2 mess tables down, makes things a little easier for coordinating meals. And then I do have the storage bin, and then because I don't have any dedicated storage for a lot of stuff, what this will let us do is just say like, hey, I want to take 5 tons of steel, I want to take 2 tons of plastic, et cetera, to get all the materials we need to kind of set a system up. It's mostly going to be steel and plastic. We're going to want to bring over some other stuff. If you needed to move a lot of stuff, you could do multiple storage bins on your main planet, and then use a dispenser with a sweep-only command. You usually have to look for your dispensers to kind of move all that. So, let's add... I'm going to up the priority on this. Our tank of coolant is starting to get a little toasty. More of a problem for our metal refinery. So we will probably need to look into putting our metal refinery into a closed loop system. Upgrade our industry a little bit. But for now, we're just waiting on getting some stuff built. So, the other thing we could do, we could also send a rocket over the rover module, and rover could be doing some of our initial digging, exploring, and whatnot on this planet. So, I think we're good to try and make our landing. And then we'll get into... Right now, I want to put igneous rock storage here because we're just having some issues moving stuff. I do have both these aqua tuners in just one steam room, just because they're close to save from having to build multiple steam rooms and turbines. Anyway, I think we're good to try and land on the planet. The thing with using a large gas cargo canister is they take a long time to build. They, at best, are going to do one... If you're only using one loader, you're only going to fill 1K per second. So at 1K per second, you're looking at probably 20 cycles to fill it. So I have the line off this bomb, and then the overflow on these two all going to it. To try and go a bit faster. You can make it fill faster by using more loaders and more lines of oxygen. But some other stuff we have to get going while it's building. It is the downside of the large canister. Our rocket platform we kind of got to update anyway. We're still working on the bait. I'm still limiting myself to the I need things to work, and maybe I don't have all the research. So, we do have the research, so let's get our planet down and then try to grab a couple things. So, the first thing we want to do, don't need a ton of food, but we'll go with pickled meal for now, because this is not going to be a long mission. Not that concerned about the morale of the dupes we're sending. We'll set these to 5. The other usual thing, I always want these on high priority for getting filled. And we got to take 10K out. We currently have a lot of nothing to do. I will probably set up like I gotta do the math on like sending water over maybe. Might make long-term bristle production here or something. Like I said, if I had regular dupes here, they'd be doing like fog jellies and setting up food storage for that. Right now we're just waiting for... Okay, you're full and you are full. Make a save. And let's summon our crews. I'm waiting on one more dupe to get here. Okay. So it is the Smash. I want to land on the planet. Hopefully, nobody took a really bad suit. Devon, get out of your Atmos suit. And Nicola, get out of your Atmos suit. Okay. So everyone's on their ship. I think most of the ice here is normalized. But I do want to set these all and leave empty now. And we're just going to wait for ships to get into orbit. Then we're just looking for a quick mission. We do know from our quick research rocket, like we have a couple cycles of oxygen here. Radiation kind of sucks on this rocket because it doesn't protect really well from here. It is the thing to consider with a long-term rocket like this is they will get a lot of rads for being in the rocket, but for the most part, like most of the areas they are only like 30 to 60 rads. So kind of while we're waiting for that, and kind of why I wanted to clear this out, is we need to create a steam room to power our steam rocket. Good way to do that. We're going to build it up in space. Because a lot of this is going to be going away. I want to build it over here, I think. If you are building up in a vacuum, you will need to drywall the back tiles. Are working hot. Okay, we got our rockets in orbit. So, to save myself a bit of headache, we know we want to leave about 36, maybe a little more. There are meteors and stuff there. We want about 38 tiles of clearance. So we are kind of high up. So we got a nice spot here. We could land here now, and like the main reason I'm coming here is because I want to grab arbor trees. If I had a rancher, we could also grab a pip here. We already have pips. think we're going to land over here, then hopefully we're going to be close to the arbor trees. So we got enough room. There we go. Smash is also in range. So we're going to make a save now. And this is just because sometimes it's more of a thing if you have docks. Dupes can get a little weird about going in suits. So that suit only has 5. It only has 18. Okay, then it's Devin. Let's go down the planet because Devin is a better builder. We're going to wait for Devin to get in his suit. Find Devin. Deploy. We're going to deploy here. There we go. I usually like to wait until it loads before... Unfortunately, Meep's currently taking a nap, so we are near the arbor trees. Can get working on those. We do got a couple nearby. And Meep. Okay. Okay. Meep, please go put this suit on. And then you also land here. There we go. Deconstruct our lander again. And now we can rocketry. Got about enough room that we could land anything here if we wanted to. And so we know the grab is now... We're going to wait until the smash lands. There we go. So double check. It is the smash we want to land here. Gonna add Devin as a crew member. Gonna take our restrictions off just because we're gonna be here for a minute. And then the grab we can send back. Okay, perfect. entire reason we really came here is for one resource, and that is arbor trees. I need these arbor acorns. I'm gonna manually move them. If we get 4s, I'd like to get a 5th one. We might be pushing our luck to get 5. But both of them are really good at digging, and it's not like they have anything else to do here, so we can probably get to 5. We're just going to keep them in the suits while they do this. But if we wanted to stay here long term, it'd just be like get somewhere where there's oxygen and just start throwing down systems. Oh, we got 2 on this one. Relocate those. And then let's take a quick look, just kind of while we're here. So we can see we do have the saltwater geyser there. We do have a geyser of some type here. And there's our polluted water vent. So we have all our water kind of over here. We know there are metal volcanoes here. We'll have to go look for those. But there are also crash satellites. So what this does is once we do kind of get systems established here and we want to start sending material back easier, instead of having to use ships, or we can instead use the interplanetary launcher, which just uses power and rad bolts. And then if we compare like our these satellites to, there's one here I didn't even see. So by just putting like one rad bolt generator here, it'll make 170 rad bolts per cycle. So we got what I needed here. So let's summon our crew. Ooh. He'll get there in 12 seconds. He should live long enough. Everyone else I kind of just left in the suits. So, like I said, it's not the safest method. Okay, he did make it. Oh, are you gonna do something stupid? Okay, Atmo suit. Please go. Where is he? Yeah. Yeah, you're not that stupid. Okay, he figured it out. Should have put him in the suit sooner, but on me. I don't know how suit oxygen is doing. Still a good amount in the ship, so they should be fine. There we go. I'm going to deconstruct all of these old rockets. They have kind of served their purpose. We are going to be moving on to steam rockets now. But like I said, if our goal was have to get somewhere for a resource because we need it for just progression, you can do it. You don't need very high tech if that is your only goal. Now we're going to get this steam room built. This is the main requirement to why, like, steam rockets are great. You can do a lot with steam rockets. We could also just jump right to petrol, but the problem with petrol rockets is the same problem we had with the sugar engine, is we need an oxidizer. So our options would be either we have to set up oxalate production, which we could do. We would just have to start processing a lot of gold, but where... Okay, these arbor acorns, I need to relocate to here for a future project. And then we also just sweep up. Well, we should sweep everything, but the other options we could do fertilizer. We have all the stuff for fertilizer. It would just require making a room similar to what we did for the oil refinery, because we would need... they also kind of just output natural gas. And we just have to route some polluted water to it. It's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, I did add more overflow to our polluted water. Our thimble reeds started getting too hot. Okay. Because I do have this out in space, I don't need to run conductive wire into it. I think we'll just cheat and run at heavy power. There we go. So I do want all this like random junk I've been putting down here swept up, so we'll put these up at 6s. So we need a couple things in here. First off, we're gonna need a gas pump, ideally steel, because we have to move our steam out. We're going to need a liquid vent. to allow water in, and then we're going to need a heat source of some variety. The easiest one I find to use is just using a capodizer. Then we'll just use a little bit of automation to infuse it. Switch in here. Want a Atmos sensor here. And then I want a plumbing. Liquid shutoff valve down by here. Another thing, if we're just running this through a very cold area, I don't want this flashing in the pipes. And turn off our fill there. A lot of Zold line out of the way. Or just have it on my part of needing to I have gone through most of my lead. It's just kind of a mix of the two. I'm nowhere near the power limit for am being a little lazy in my water routing. I haven't. A lot of my industrial scale stuff has still a lot of kind of place it wherever systems. You just do what works. I do like this vertical bridging for aquatuners. So bridge this way over this way, let you get them side by side a lot easier. But we do need to run some water up. Also have to run a lot of automation. So you'll notice here our tepidizers freaking out a little bit. And that's just because tepidizers have a heat limit. I believe it is 75 degrees is the highest they will go. But by bridging through a NOT gate, it'll always constantly turn on for a split second, allowing it to get a lot hotter. So we just say send a green signal if we're above 150. Once we actually do get to 150, then it will just stop. So the problem right now is it's sending a red to a green and it keeps flipping through that, but if it sends a green, then it'll figure out how to not gate correctly. Yeah, because if I tell it low, it just sends to green. It'll effectively shut itself off because it'll be too hot. Are gonna get away with just being able to use heavy walk because I'm not worried about the heat escaping out because it's in a vacuum. We have people not super happy about their trip, but they'll be fine. For now, I just kind of want to get this rocket down. We'll also probably set up an exploration rocket because once we get it powered here, I can kind of show the difference with Steam. Steam's when you really start to be able to do a lot with space. Grisona, we will need to figure out a way to deal with meteors, but we'll get to that. So for now, we're just waiting for this automation to go now. And this plumbing. You wanted to use something other than kind of doing the tricked tepidizer. We could set up like a regular aqua tuner and then have the aqua tuner basically we'd use like a aqua tuner that runs its temperature based on how hot its environment is, and then just keep running its coolant through something with a tepidizer. That'd be a way to do it if you didn't want to trick out the logic. So it'd be just build it kind of up here while we're waiting for things. So we'd have an aqua tuner and then tepidizer. So instead of a plumbing loop, we'd run it off a thermosensor, telling it, hey, if the environment around you is below 150 degrees, run, and then its coolant, we would just keep running through a tepidizer. So that the tepidizer, just sort of like the tepidizer in some polluted water, I'll get up to 75 degrees or whatever. And then the coolant, we maybe also throw in like a safety so it doesn't freeze itself. So maybe it would be something like a liquid sensor. And then we'd want to put them through an AND gate. That way, if the coolant's getting too cold and it's risking blowing the pipes because it's not, the teppidizer can't keep up, it would also turn it off for a bit. It's just easier to use the trick NOT gate. As I do gotta get some stuff cleared out. We're gonna get another steam rocket built, very similar to this. Probably identical. Maybe not with this type of cargo canister. Right. Other way. If it's set to not oxygen, just in case chlorine or just something gets in here. Otherwise, I could do this here and it would just be link it on CO2, but then something could happen like, oh, polluted oxygen gets in and it messes it up. So I just have it set like, hey, if there's not oxygen in this tile for over 5 seconds, then run it. Wonder why we're venting stuff out. Data is allowed outside, right? Yes. Packer, another thing I need to work on. I don't need many to set up. It's going to be another one of those projects we're going to work a little bit with. But it's kind of the thing, if you do a big water tank like this, you can, thing you should do is just throw your wild Pacu into it. Helps them from going extinct. Usually a problem I have. If you don't want to set up like a full thing to like ranch them. You also just ranch them from it, just I find water level can be a little finicky with doing it. Pacu are a very good early food source. Just it's a thing I just never think to do with even knowing how good they are, just because their food can be a little annoying. Bring it up here. Yes, they live off algae, sea comb, and the various seeds. So seeds are a little, like it's 1 unit per cycle. You need a lot of excess seeds to feed them. I think like the only one you can do that's kind of quote unquote reasonable is sleet wheat. I think it's like 1 sleet wheat per Pacu. You have the problem of needing your sleet wheat to not rot before you feed it. Seacomb does make it a bit easier with the prehistoric. It is nice about half of the seacomb will be turned to polluted dirt, which you then can use to fertilize the sea comb. Algae is the other option, which is also easy with prehistoric because you can do blumlums. Like a blumlum ranch will support like 20 pacu or something. Because yeah, blumlums make a lot of algae per cycle. Where we have a lot of polluted oxygen, I could also be sorting that around or processing the slime with the slime distiller again. Use set up a puff ranch. We could be getting algae that way. But that's if we wanted to do pacu at scale, not just we'll throw them in a tank, we keep them around, we get a little extra fish. But we probably will be doing it at scale for some later stuff. I'm not filling the hatches here over anymore. For the most, some of them are reasonably happy. Just waiting for the stuff so I can kind of show off our steam. Okay, everything did get built here. Is a little annoying to kind of dry start, which is why I'm just gonna turn the power off on it. Or actually what I can do set it to below, so it's not, so it's only gonna run up to 75 to start with till we get it closed off. And on another planet. Build a launch pad in the world without the teleporter. Speed things up a little bit. Okay, I can show off here with surface. There we go. With the grubs, we do get a growth speed bonus of 50%. That is, I think if you're using Professor Oakshell, that is factored in when doing grub fruit. I kind of had to manually do it for the amount of bristle blossom. Because I think for the amount of mixed berry I want to make eventually, I think the math was 28, give or take. Where if I factor in they're growing 50% more, I can do it with 20. Well, my math could still be off on it, but it's, like I said, just something different to try. And then we are getting some berry sludge for the long-term projects. Okay, so we got everything there. Just even with there being very little gas here, I do want this to kind of vacuum out. Why I don't have this blocked off, just where I have the gas moving. slowly get a lot of this debris moved. No, they're grabbing it for the berry sludge. Okay, there we go. We got our water coming up. Not losing that much temp. So we're mostly waiting for the tapidizer to get submerged, but even without being submerged, because it always just kicks on for a split second. Just because liquid is so much more dense than water. Pretty much as soon as this flashes to steam, this Atmos sensor will tell it to stop sending water. Do you want this turned off while it gets up to temp? Just to help it flash the first time. We're just going to stop sending liquid. I never knew it made the little ratchety sound. Knew the kind of pump thing it did. But yeah, like as soon as this flashes, the Atmos sensor's gonna tell it like, hey, stop sending water. Yeah. Alright. Just get the line cleared so nothing's flashing in the pipes. This is probably more steam than I will use for the entire time we are using steam rockets. There we go. Wait till the rest of this gets up to temp. Also double checking that I made the pump out of steel. Take a look at our power. I'm going to be running out of coal here because the hatches aren't here, but like uptime 10%, this grid's not even turning on. But we can start to see the thing I mentioned here with the magma. So where this is pretty low. We should get into here. Let's do that there. We could wait a while before we really needed to do this here, but so we are going to allow access into here. Reason why is because we're gonna want to go like this. While we're out, we'll dig out this old igneous. Is kind of the flaw to kind of just straight spike designs to the cores. Technically, we're going to lose half the material, but there's lots. Dig the magma out on this side at least. Is the thing I'm afraid of, is them grabbing hot igneous rock. But we'll keep an eye on that there in case if we start seeing some weird temps anywhere, then know what it is. Here we know it's just because it's very hot sulfur. May have been better to kind of expand this out a little bit to get all of this. Did look into it. This is kind of a bug. We should not be able, or I guess it's an oversight with the change. We shouldn't be able to shear the glossy Drecos. Just kind of a thing that was missed on the update. There we go. So now we're into this obsidian vein. It should run a little better. All right, we got everything up here to 150. Now we turn our switch on. And so let's compare. So our CO2 rocket could get about 6 tiles. So we can make it to Toxona and back. We can make it to Greasona, refuel and make it back. Let's see where our steam engine gets by comparison. Also thinking I've realized you do have a nice visual indicator for how full it is. Ooh, okay. It is only oxalate here. Like, a good thing with Toxona is it is only oxalate meteors. It can be a thing with colonization rockets to keep in mind is to... I went full solar panel. A safer thing, maybe include one trailblazer in case the planet you're going to has meteors and your rocket platform gets entombed. Because if the platform gets entombed, we can't land. With it being oxalate, though, these eventually will just all off-gas away. Not that big of a deal. It just is slightly annoying. To fuel this faster, I could have designed one with 2 pumps, but it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so it's going past now. We just shut it off. So otherwise, the steam would sit in these pipes and eventually break. So we can see here, we have gone from a 6-range rocket to a 10-range rocket. So now we could make it to Greasona and back. What we're going to use, we're going to... Well, the first one, just because I have a lot more space to set stuff up. This one is going to be getting a team to start exploring Toxona, figure out where the metal volcanoes are, get an idea of what's where on this planet, make a plan for how we're going to get our stuff here. And then we're also going to set up a similar rocket that's going to start exploring the map for us. But yeah, that's kind of low-tech, basic planet colonization. And moving on to kind of my more preferred method of the mighty steam rocket. So we're going to get another one of these built. I got to clear out a lot of this old junk from our platform. We'll get that built, and then while we're waiting for its cargo canister to fill, we'll go over pips planting, and probably build a proper Dreco ranch for our reed fiber. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching.